Press side good. Camera's good. Thumbs up. Okay. I see some folks adjusting some things, so I want to make sure that we're good. Okay. Wonderful. Well, good morning. Thank you all for joining us here today. Really important that we understand what is happening here in the Rio Grande Valley, and throughout the U.S.-Mexico border here in Texas, because of the crisis and the chaos that Greg Abbott has caused. Through his executive action last week that mandates 100% inspections on all commercial vehicles coming into the U.S. through our ports of entry here in Texas, he has slowed down U.S.-Mexico trade to a standstill. That is causing higher prices. It is causing higher inflation. It is worsening a supply chain problem that we already had in the United States. We're going to lose even more truck drivers who are going to have a hard time making a living when they were used to crossing 3 or 4 times a day. Now they're lucky if they cross even once. Someone was just telling me there are some truck drivers who are now crossing once every 3 days. This is going to lead to problems not just here in the Rio Grande Valley, although we have some serious problems here that Greg Abbott has caused, but it's going to be very bad for the Texas economy. It's going to be very bad for the national economy. This is the cost and the consequence of meeting legitimate challenges that we have with the kind of political stunts that Greg Abbott is using right now here in the state of Texas. This is making a challenging situation for small businesses much, much worse. I was in Laredo yesterday, meeting with customs brokers and trucking company owners and just everyday citizens who are alarmed at what this is doing to their economy. I've had the chance to talk to people in El Paso, in Eagle Pass, in Del Rio, and yes, of course, here today in the Rio Grande Valley. Greg Abbott is killing businesses and the Texas economy with the stunt that he's pulling here right now. When you see those trucks lined up, miles deep, all the way into Mexico, what you're seeing is inflation, what you're seeing is higher prices at the grocery store, and what you're seeing are more supply chain problems. We are calling on Greg Abbott to end this policy today because it does nothing to stop the traffic of illegal drugs. It does nothing to stop the smuggling of human beings. It does nothing to improve the safety or security of the people of Texas. All it does is hurt the economy of this community, of this state, and of the United States of America. One more point before I introduce 2 other speakers who are going to talk in very real terms about how this has affected their businesses and their employees. I just learned from an importer who has one of these cold storage facilities and imports produce here at the FAR Reynosa port of entry, what this is doing to her business. She said that U.S. truckers are arriving to pick up loads only to find that there is nothing in her warehouse. That is hurting those truckers. It is hurting her business. She also just shared with me that there is a business that imports $200 million a year in produce that has just moved to Nogales, Arizona, which is a 20-hour drive away from where we are in FAR right now. And she's in the position of having to import produce from Nogales, Arizona, a 20-hour drive away here to FAR, to then load it onto trucks that are going into other parts of the United States. What she told me in no uncertain terms is that once these businesses leave the Rio Grande Valley and go to Arizona, they are not coming back because they're going to invest in their own cold storage facilities over there. It's going to change the routes and the flow of trade traffic in our communities, and it is going to irrevocably hurt the economy of Texas. The first person that I want to introduce is our host today, who allowed us to gather here in his cold storage facility. But even more importantly, he is a customs broker. So he works with clients all over this region who are trying to bring in the food, the television sets, the car parts, the things that our national economy and Texas economy depend upon. So Joe Arevalo is going to tell us a little bit about what this means to him, to his business, and to his clients. And then after we hear from Joe, we're gonna have a chance to hear from someone who owns a trucking company. He's gonna tell us what this means for his drivers and his small business here in Pharr in the Rio Grande Valley. So Joe, we'll turn the microphones over to you, and then Joe and all of us will be ready to answer questions after we have these brief comments.
Hello all. My name is Joe Arevalo. I'm a U.S. Custom House broker, and I am the owner of the Keystone facility that you're currently in. I've been a broker and owned my business for 30 years. Started in actual customs brokerage at the age of 19, and it's been a lifetime career. And we've enjoyed a lot of success during those years. Normally through this port, when things were working the way they should, with all our colleague and custom broker competitors, we were importing about 1,000 loads of produce per day between all of us, and about 1,000 loads of electronics and automotive and other manufactured goods. A total of about $25 million of produce comes into the port daily, and 32 million of manufactured products. Well, that has recently stopped. DPS has always performed inspections safety inspections on the imports, but they do them at a small percentage. They do 2%, 3%, 5%. They've never, ever held up a complete system or a complete supply chain in order to attempt to inspect 100% of the shipments. Basically, if you all don't know what's going on, DPS has stationed up one of their vehicles outside of the export lot, not allowing trucks to flow from the import lot into the commerce. They are blocking the trade, attempting to get them into the DPS compound so that they can physically check and perform their safety standard checks for 100% of all the import going on. The only problem with that is that they can only inspect 100 loads a day or 150 loads a day. So what's happening to the 2,500 loads that are coming in daily with not just produce and maquiladoras, but the empty trucks that have to make it to come and pick up shipments so that the United States can export to Mexico? It's not happening. It's come to a halt. So we're living through a nightmare. We're already suffering through a very delicate supply chain from the pandemic and just trying to regrow the business. And then President Abbott implements a policy that adds 45 more minutes to the inspection process. What do you all think is gonna happen when they can't complete the inspection? What's gonna happen to all the trucks on the bridge? They're gonna line up way in deep into Mexico. And the end result is that importers are gonna leave. Importers that normally bring in hundreds of millions of dollars every year of business are gonna start going through other ports. You know, we're already going through Nogales. Some of our clients are wanting to go through Nogales. We're going to San Diego. Some of them are looking for ocean ports to enter their product. But they were perfectly fine here until this policy, which is a truck safety policy, but is being used to negotiate immigration. Why? Why is that happening to us? What do we have to do with immigration and Title 42 and Title 42? So it's having a very devastating effect to the whole supply chain. We're seeing growers having to plow over their product. We're seeing transportation companies who can't load up their product because there's none. We're seeing manufacturers that are shutting down plants on the Mexican side and shutting down plants on the US side. We have manufacturing companies like Toyota that they're depending on the rapid movement of their components so that they can complete their automobiles so that they can enter the market, and now they don't have access to that. because truck safety is being used as a pawn or as a method to negotiate illegal immigration. Why? Why are we being held hostage? Why is DPS parking their trucks in front of the exit, in front of the export lot, so that they can hold and place into their inspection facilities when they don't have the capabilities to inspect? So those are some of my thoughts. Another thing that I want you all to know is that on Friday, they inspected 150 shipments, 150 trucks for truck safety, and of course they took the opportunity to check for illegals and check for drugs. On Saturday, they inspected 83, Sunday 57, and yesterday 47. But we have 2,000 trucks crossing a day with goods and 500 crossing empty. What happened to those loads? They went through other ports. We had to go through other ports, Brownsville, through Laredo, where they're a little bit more friendlier. We're being attacked at our port. We're being shut down. And no, and everyone is here because it's happening to them. We're losing sales, and it's hurting our business. I don't know what else.
Joe, thank you. I wanted you to hear directly from Joe. We're in his warehouse right now. This should be full of produce and imports that are going to be picked up by U.S. truckers to be taken deeper into this country. But as you can see right now, it is empty. And this is costing Joe. It's going to be expensive for him. It's unsustainable if it continues much further. It's going to make it harder to keep people employed, to hire people, and to keep this economy going here locally and across the state of Texas. I also want to make the point that as Mexican truck drivers, understandably frustrated, begin to shut down some of these international bridges, it's affecting our ability to export what we make in the state of Texas to the rest of the Americas, to Mexico and points beyond that further south. And the last thing that I want to say before I bring up Polo is that it doesn't just affect us here. So much of what should be able to be imported, but is now stalled on the bridges because of Greg Abbott, is destined for factory floors in San Antonio, in Michigan, and Ohio. Those workers are unable to get the parts and the inputs they need to build the things that the country of the United States of America actually makes. So this is harming our entire economy, again, because of a stunt that Greg Abbott has pulled. These DPS inspections cannot look inside of the cargo. They can just look at tire pressure or the engine or the quality of the truck right there. So it's hurting our economy. It is killing jobs. It is causing higher inflation and supply chain problems, and we get no benefit from it. Polo Chow is someone who owns one of these trucking companies. He knows what's in the cargo holds that should be coming here, points deeper into Texas and to the United States. I want him to talk about what this
issue, this initiative from the governor. I quite can't understand what's going on. Like Joe was stating earlier, in terms of, I don't think we've caught any illegal aliens or they seized any drugs in these past few days. DPS has been doing a level 1 inspection on every single truck. What that means is that every single truck that crosses, it takes anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour to do inspection per truck. So the bridge is open 12 or 14 hours, so you can count how many trucks get inspected per day out of 3,000 trucks. So what happened when the initiative started on Thursday, the lines started getting backlogged and backlogged. Customs was trying to do everything they could to process all the trucks, but they would go into DPS or Department of Public Safety, and basically they would just stop. It stopped the whole flow of traffic, and the drivers were sitting on the bridge up to 14, 16 hours per day. As of that, as per consequence as of that, now the drivers, owner-operated drivers in Mexico, in Reynosa, decided as of yesterday to block entry to Mexican and U.S. Customs, both north and southbound. So that, as of yesterday, 0 trucks crossed yesterday. Typically, you have 3,000 trucks crossing per day here. I would like to figure out what's going on with all that flow of traffic. It's just sitting there in Mexico, and it's not crossing. And how this affects us? Well, it affects us, the trucking companies, the U.S. trucking companies, from everywhere, from the States, coming down here, bringing product down that's supposed to go into Mexico. So, some of that product is pork and beef. The United States is a huge, huge exporter of pork and beef, and Mexico is a huge importer of beef and pork and beef and chicken. So all that product is just sitting here in the warehouses. It's not crossing into Mexico as of yesterday. And the U.S. drivers who came down and are trying to go back up north to take either automotive parts or electrical parts or produce are just sitting here. They're idling at $5 a gallon. Well, it's really hurting us a lot. So you have unproductive drivers, U.S. drivers that stayed here. On the Mexican side, the Mexican drivers, we spoke with them yesterday, and their big concern is that if they're going to have to wait 16 hours on the bridge with no food, no water, no restrooms. I mean, really, how do you go out? How do you go to a restroom on the top of the bridge? How do you eat? How do you drink? These are inhumane conditions. And they said, no, no more. We're not going to do that. If you're going to hold us on the bridge, we'd rather be on the Mexican side, where we have access to food, water, and restroom facilities. So that's what they're doing. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's their point of view. And definitely, us as Americans, we are definitely not a culture or a civilization of inhumane acts. I think that's an inhumane act, and that's what the drivers are doing. Now, in terms of how this is affecting the other industries, other than produce, well, produce specifically, Beto and both Joe were stating, it's very simple. A large quantity of tomatoes, mangoes, avocados come from Mexico. What's going to happen to when I go in as a regular Texas citizen to one of my local supermarkets? If there are vegetables, obviously the price is going to be much higher. Probably I won't find tomatoes. Probably I won't find avocados because they're all sitting across the border. In the automotive industry, the supply chain is a very, very delicate process that's done between the manufacturing plants in Mexico and the assembly plants here in the States. We mentioned earlier the plant here in San Antonio, Texas, the Toyota plant. I personally bring product from Mexico. Some of those trailers have been sitting across the border for 3 days. So that product sitting across the border, what do you think is going to happen to that plant in San Antonio? They don't have those large inventory levels they used to carry before. I mean, I'm no expert in that area, but I'd venture saying from 3 to 5 days, that's what they hold. After that, what do you think is going to happen to that assembly plant? It's going to have to come to a halt because there are no mirrors or hoses or whatever goes into the car to assemble it. And how is that going to affect Texas citizens? And that's why I stress San Antonio. It's a Texas initiative by the governor. The same example is going to affect other assembly plants up in Michigan, Ford, GM, etc. But I am asking the governor, please look into this initiative. It is not improving safety. It is not improving illegal immigrants. It is not improving our war against drugs. That's not the way to do it. Customs here, at least so far, has worked with us extremely well. They've gone above and beyond to help us cross the shipments on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. These guys at Customs, they were working overtime. I mean, way past midnight, way past the working hours, and we cleared as many trucks as they could. But now, because of the Mexican drivers, the bridge has had a halt. 0 cars, 0 trucks are crossing north and southbound. And now, on the southbound side, that's going to affect the manufacturing plants in Reynosa. If they have no raw product, what are they going to assemble? What are they going to produce? So this is going to start creating a big supply chain problem across Mexico, and here in the States. Specifically us Texans. We are Texans. Governor, please listen to us. We need your help. This initiative is not helping anybody. Thank you.
Muy brevemente en español y luego voy a contestar sus preguntas. Las acciones del gobernador Greg Abbott está afectando de una manera muy negativa la comunidad de FAR, aquí en RGV, Laredo, El Paso, las comunidades de la frontera, pero también la economía del estado de Texas, la economía de los Estados Unidos. Está causando más inflación, van a subir los precios para cada persona en cada parte del estado de Texas y van a afectar muy negativamente los negocios pequeños aquí en comunidades como FAR y McAllen y El Paso y otras comunidades en el estado de Texas. No necesitamos parar cada camión que quiere cruzar en los puentes internacionales para llegar aquí. Es algo muy negativa para la economía y para el estado de Texas y necesitamos parar la policía y necesitamos cambiar el liderazgo para que podamos afectar en una manera positiva la economía de nuestras comunidades fronterizas como la comunidad aquí en FAR. With that, would love to take your questions. Polo, Joe, and I are very happy to answer any question that you might have about how this affects truck drivers, the Toyota plant in San Antonio, the clients that Joe is a broker for, or cold storage facilities like this one right here.
Were not for this situation, this warehouse would be full behind you.
Here and inside.
Once you step up to the microphone.
Normally we're about 80% capacity at our facilities. So we're down. We're down to about 30%. So we would have had more product in our cold rooms, more avocados in our cold rooms, and we don't have it because of that. The dollar amount. I can't come up with a dollar amount, but just say that I have my notes. About $25 million come into the United States of produce. We handle about a couple of hundred loads a day. 10, 15 million dollars. It's hurting.
What are these inspections like? You mentioned that the DPS can look in the back.
Just imagine having a system that's working perfectly and the supply chain is able to deliver to the different markets because we've been working on this system over the years with CBP so that we have efficient trade. Then an outside agency comes in, oh, I'm now part of the supply chain and I have to inspect 100% overnight and add whether it be 10 or 40 minutes to that inspection. What's going to happen to the supply chain? It's going to break, and it has busted and created a domino effect of angry drivers, angry transportation companies, just everyone is upset. I have clients calling me, Joe, where's my product? Why can't you get it across? Go through another port. Let's go through Nogales. We may just do that. And seriously thinking about just moving the business to Nogales. It's just, or San Diego, or another port. We need to find a solution and import and continue to supply the markets.
If I may answer a little bit on your question on the inspections, typically here and throughout the state of Texas and other states, Department of Public Safety officials, they do random inspections. And that's done everywhere in the United States. And that's the way it's been done here all for the past 25 years I've been a trucker. Now they're doing what they call a level 1 inspection. That means the truck gets inspected. It takes 40 to 60 minutes for an inspection. Every single truck. Let's look at this. If we were to do that type of inspection on the I-35 corridor from Austin to Dallas, there's weigh stations. There are inspection stations. They do random inspections. They can't do that. If you stop every single truck and do that inspection, you will probably have a line from Austin all the way up to Dallas. That's what's happening here in this border. So it's not feasible. It's something that's unheard of. It's never happened here, at least here in FAR. And I've never seen that happen in any, I go throughout the states, my trucks go throughout the states, and yes, randomly, one truck or two trucks or whatever gets inspected, but never in any state have I seen anything like this before.
Sí, mira, si queremos asegurar la frontera, es importante escuchar a las comunidades de la frontera. Por eso estoy aquí en la frontera con los dueños de estos negocios pequeños, pero también para escuchar a la comunidad en un foro que vamos a tener esta tarde. Yo sé que tenemos las soluciones de los problemas aquí y necesitamos liderazgo y un gobernador que va a escuchar y seguir el consejo de la comunidad de la frontera. No podemos mejorar la seguridad con esta política de revisar cada camión. Está afectando muy negativa la comunidad, la economía, los trabajos que queremos y merecemos aquí. Necesitamos trabajar juntos con las comunidades fronterizos, pero también con el gobierno federal para que ellos hacen su propio trabajo revisando o mejorando las leyes de migración para que gente que quieren venir aquí para trabajar, para reunir con su familia, para buscar asilo, pueden hacer en una manera legal y una manera en que podemos tener orgullo de nuestro sistema. ¿Qué está pasando ahora con el gobernador? No está mejorando, es algo que es peor para nuestras comunidades. Sí. Tenemos problemas con la administración del presidente Biden también. Yo pienso que no tienen un plan o no compartir un plan con las comunidades para cambiar la situación sobre los migrantes y la necesidad de cambiar nuestras leyes de migración. Necesitamos más acción y necesitamos el respeto que ellos también están aquí para escuchar a la comunidad. Es muy, muy importante. There are very legitimate concerns at our U.S.-Mexico border about the smuggling of illegal drugs, about the trafficking in human beings, and even those who are trying to claim asylum or come to this country to work or join family. There has to be a far more orderly process for them to do that than what we're seeing right now. But the way to meet that is not with stunts like renting buses to take people to Washington, D.C., or activating 10,000 members of the Guard, or literally stopping U.S.-Mexico trade here at FAR Reynosa. The answer is in coming up with solutions, bringing in the federal government to do their job, partnering with local communities by showing up and listening to them to hear the solutions that they've come up with as well. Proposing, for example, a guest worker program that we create here in the state of Texas. Having a governor who, instead of hurting their businesses, is using TxDOT to invest in more infrastructure here so that we can facilitate even more crossings per day of the commercial traffic that keeps our economy going, not just along the border, but throughout the state of Texas. Greg Abbott and I see the border very differently. He sees it as a threat. He wants to wall it up, militarize it, shut it down, as he is literally doing today. I see the border as our greatest opportunity. It's an economic driver. It is a job creator. It's the part of the country where I'm from. I live in El Paso, Texas, and I'm so proud of these communities and the leadership that we see here right now. I have no idea who Joe or Polo are going to vote for in the next election. It does not matter to me. No me importa. The fact that they're standing up for their community and for their employees, and by extension this state, makes me so proud. And I want to be their partner. And I am here because as governor, I'm going to fight with all I have for these border communities. Make sure that they're represented, that we tell the truth, and that we create policies that are going to help the people who actually live here. We've got to do everything we can as a state of Texas to improve opportunities at the border. I mentioned investing in opportunities to increase U.S.-Mexico trade, to increase the ability of Mexican national shoppers to come into our communities and spend money in our stores. It's the lifeblood of the border economy. And on issues that we have with security or safety or rule of law on our border, I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can as well. If the United States federal government, through our representatives in Congress, won't rewrite our immigration laws, there may be a way in the state of Texas, working with Republicans and Democrats, that we create a guest worker program, for example. There are folks who are crossing in between ports of entry for the privilege of picking onions in Brownsville, Texas right now. Let's give them a legal path to do that. We depend on them. They are literally helping us to feed ourselves and to put groceries on the shelves in our stores. Let's make sure that there's a legal path to do that. We can come up with that right here in Texas. I listen to border sheriffs and county judges and mayors, and they're telling me they need more infrastructure, more processing facilities, more capacity. That's the federal government's job, but if they don't do that, I think it's time that Texas invests in that so that we help these border communities to ensure greater safety, greater order, and less chaos where our country meets the rest of the world. No necesitamos la Guardia Nacional en la frontera, casi 10,000 personas que ya están aquí en nuestras comunidades, que no pueden afectar en una manera positiva o negativa los migrantes, las drogas o otras amenazas que tenemos aquí. Es tiempo que regresamos la Guardia a sus familias, a sus comunidades, a sus hijos, a sus trabajos, y tener soluciones desde la frontera que puede mejorar la frontera, incluyendo el intercambio comercial y también la seguridad de nuestras comunidades.
Got time for two more?
Time for two more questions. One point that I want to make that hopefully is coming clear right here. Norma reminded me that we lose out on $216 million a day every day that these bridges are shut down, just here in FAR and Reynosa. I've also been told that we're already seeing businesses move to Nogales, Arizona. That's more than 1,200 miles away from where we are right now. It's a 20-hour drive. I think that makes the case that Greg Abbott is good for Arizona, but he's very bad for the state of Texas. He is hurting the state of Texas right now. Other questions or comments? Polo, Joe, anything that you all want to conclude with? I'll give you all the microphone.
My name is Joe, J-O-E. My last name is Arevalo, A-R-E-V-A-L-O. And if I had anything to say to Greg Abbott is, please stop. Stop doing this. You're destroying our businesses. Literally destroying our businesses. Thank you.
My name is Polo, Chow, Polo like a shirt, Chow like Korean dog Chow, C-H-O-W. It's the same thing, and I think I already stated it. Governor, please stop this initiative. It's not helping us. We're not stopping illegal drugs or illegal trafficking with this. And we as carriers, Mexican carriers, U.S. carriers, we have an excellent working relationship with the Department of Public Safety, both U.S. DOT and Texas DPS, and I think the training that your departments have provided to us have helped us be more safe carriers here in the United States or here in Texas. So please help us stop this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being here today. There is no important issue for border communities like FAR. There's no more important economic issue in the state of Texas right now. We are seeing leadership in this local community. We're seeing leadership across the state of Texas standing up to Greg Abbott and making sure that we can get the flow of trade going again, create more jobs, reduce inflation in the state of Texas. These are the kind of things that I will do as governor. I will fight for these border communities, and I will represent them in a way that will make the people of FAR and the Rio Grande Valley proud. Thank you all for coming out today. Very grateful.